Well, first of all, Alex, thanks so much for joining and spending some time with me today. I have had so many questions about Euro Linux in the since the video went up. So I guess the first thing I wanted to do was, could you just spend a minute or two and just explain what your role is and what you do on Euro Linux?
I was called a lot of names, actually. I was one of the very first employee, probably the first technical employee of Linux. I was in this company from the very beginning, before it was even the company, because we started as some kind of experiment, let's name it. And I'm still here after nearly 10 years. So I did like everything. I was, like the programmer. We have a little bit, for the short time, I was a temporary CTO. Now I'm the team lead of Linux. So yeah, I did a lot of things and was called a lot of names, but I think about myself just that I'm just the engineer that is making the system, one of the engineers who is making the system, and I believe that this is the best description actually of me. So
Great. So why did you get involved? What started up Euro Linux? Why did you get involved with that?
oh yeah, this is actually a very good question, because why not actually? The first thing that I can say is that we can. We started Wings because we can, and on the other hand, because we had to actually. When you think about what is happening around the world, and it was happening sometimes ago. Right now, we can see it like in the lens, some events, like in the lens, for example, that the globalization. Of course, there is a lot of benefits, but on the other hand, sometimes you need the engineers and the specialization and people who can make the software, for example, in your country or in your organization or in your organization. So when I think about it, from perspective of time, first of all, we were the experiment, and when we produced the first version of the system, it was decided that we'll make the company, and we go through the people who are the C-levels, so owners of Linux, are people who actually started the open source market in my country, that is Poland, by the way, and they started this market, and they started like a distributor, and there's all different types of subscription, mostly the open subscription things. Then people came and said, yeah, this is the good software. It's cheaper, it's more secure. We love it, but we need this extra value, like trainings, we need the integration. So they came up with the idea that we'll start the other company, that's the integrator. Then they naturally get more and know-how how to make it. Because in order to, for example, tune the database, in most cases, you have to know the internals of it. And the very same goes with the system and things like that. And if you start your own training and things like that, then you might think that, well, maybe we can do it ourselves. And it's like a very popular story, around the world, that you started selling something, when you start to improve it, when you make it your own, actually. And this is a little bit the story of Linux.
Okay. So what I mean, I guess that sort of answers my next question too. But so the Red Hat announcement that came out back in, I think it was 2021,
Yeah,
when they were canceling CentOS. How did that affect what you guys were doing?
Well, I'll be honest with you. For us, not much, because we are in the environment, our own clients, and most of the people who are using Linux are actually required by law to use the vendor-supported system. You're required by law. And none of our clients, if something happened, they started to replace CentOS faster when it comes to our clients. We already had our separate pipelines, from CentOS. Linux 6 and 7 started, we treated our upstream was Scientific Linux for the version 6 and 7. For the version 8 that was actually cancelled, we made this from scratch, of course from Red Hat sources, but with our pipelines and everything. So for us, like, nothing happens, to be honest. We knew that we won't be the replacement of CentOS for the most people, because people like to believe that there is I try to name it an organization that is non-profit that is actually making the system, but we all know that the new replacement of CentOS actually are backed by the big corps, or sometimes the VC, or sometimes the other companies. So it's not like it's the Unix that was made in the Bell Labs and no one thought about how to make money on it, for example. Or it's not like the CentOS that for a very long time, after leaving the Chaos Foundation, was independent project. No, it wasn't like. So now we have this different situation that the new replacement of CentOS, at the very core of their existence, have a very same flaw that for our clients or community around our systems, make them unusable for them.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about corporations taking over some of the open source projects today?
Oh, this is a very hard question. I'll be honest with you. Why this is hard? Because it's hard on many levels. First of all, we all have to agree with the fact that people, especially the smart people who are making the open source, they're great programmers, DevOps, reporting engineers. All these people have enormous knowledge, specialization, and they're not cheap. So at the end of the day, I totally get the fact that a lot of people who start with something what is very open and nice, when they get the nice proposition to work on something, get some profit and so on, that they fall for it. So, like, in my opinion, this shouldn't be the blame game. That this is bad and this is bad, because there is like no silver bullet in it. But right now I'm working on the project that is co-funded with the European Union, actually, and we are analyzing this. We're literally analyzing which companies and sometimes which countries are making the projects, and this is very important because I'm sorry, but we have to say that in the last year, the software and open source software was weaponized. I'm sorry to say that. And I believe that people who made that, for example, the changes in the Node.js libraries that just remove the content of the system and things like it, these people didn't thought about it. But a lot of states are actually asking, what if? And the worst case scenario is that open source is taken over corporation. They put their people, maintainers. You just have to buy. In most cases, in some analysis that we made, we can show that the most of open source project has like literally 2 or 3 maintainers. No more. You have to like just take these people, and in most cases they work in the quite same geopolitical area. This is like the other thing. For example, they work in the US, or they work, for example, in Russia, or in China, or in Taiwan, or in Japan, whatever. I won't get too much political here, but we are analyzing it. And I believe that this is the very next thing that we'll have to come up with how to solve it. For example, the rules that will say that in your supply chain, if the software is used, then you have to be able to prove that the software is used, created by, for example, at least 4 organizations. For example, this is the example. And that's funny because a lot of open source, the good open source product, for instance, Debian, solved this kind of things. For example, how Debian deploy their keys, how they can manage their key, how can they reproduce the keys, encryption keys. And maybe we should build quite the same way of trust when it comes to the creating the software. But this is like, to be honest, very, in my opinion, very hard to maintain in the long run area. And maybe it will be, because right now in the European Union, there's a lot of talk about the new laws, about the software security chain and software supply chain, sorry. And maybe it will be solved on this level, but I'm not sure. But I'm still, to be honest, I'm afraid of thinking over. And I was afraid because when I was quite running the Linux for some time, you know, we have like, the core team has like 10 people, each of them unique, each of them like, you know, without this person, we are in trouble. Well, where's I'm in trouble? And you can buy these people. Yeah, they're smart people. And I get that some companies, the big companies, can brute force project with money and just bought them that way.
That balance between commercial financial backing and trying to keep the open projects, the open source projects sustainable, trying to keep your good people on board. What are your feeling about the balance that Euro Linux has?
Wow. In my opinion, I will be honest with you, we should be a little bit more open. It's my opinion. I get that because we are like the tortoise, you know, there's the tortoise and the hare, you know, this fairy tale that, you know, the tortoise is slow and we are playing safe. So we are slowly opening more and more. But before we are doing that, the company I work for is actually, I have with that, okay, we know that we will be able to sustain ourselves for the next 5 years without growth, because this is how you should actually count it. If you have no growth and you tell people, but you have a system that will be run for the next 10 years, at least you should be able to tell that without any growth, without the new clients, and without the renewal, you will be able to do that for 5. It's like absolute minimum, in my opinion. And so in our case, I get that sometimes we are not in open source enough. For example, our build system, that is one of our main product, actually, because we are building a lot of custom-made Linuxes for special equipment, let's name it that way, and hardware. That, for example, is not open. But on the other hand, I know that, wow, we already open our system. We are opening more and more things. And I get that. And it's easy to say that you should be totally open when you are already the best in what you are doing. And for example, think about the Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch made the, you know, they go to the IPO is, oh my God. They come to the, give me a second, I will have to translate it. They become the public company. And then they open like everything. Because we already said they have a very healthy business model. They have their own cloud that a lot of people were using, that was competing with Amazon. And that's why they changed the license and things like that. And if you know that you are strong and that you will be able to, you know, provide the engineers and people, then it's much easier to be open, like extremely open. So I believe that there is a lot of, but we are coming to the era when there's a lot of crowdfunding, you know, the Patreon, for example, of the GitHub sponsorship. I know that we are, in many cases, we are maybe a little bit too slow there, but for example, the GNOME Foundation, in my opinion, is one of the healthiest foundation. And they managed to make that this way. So it's possible, but it's very hard. And if you are making it as a self-funded company, you have, I get that, but in many cases, you have to balance it extremely, like.
Understand, yes, understand. And at the same time, you also want to, there's always times in business when there are algorithms and things that you want to protect too, because those are key differentiators in your business.
Yeah, actually, when I think about Linux, we have the one product. We have like the 9 of whatever, but we have the one product, and this is the pipeline of creating the sustainable open source that we can then support for many years and things like that. So yeah, we are trying to protect it. On the other hand, I know that we'll open it a little bit more, probably this year, maybe next, because for example, the software bill of material is the great thing to have.
Sure.
I know that no one is looking at that. I know that. And the people are like, yeah, the system is reproducible. And then you reproduce it and it's not reproducible, but everyone is like, yeah, they say that it is. But it's not true because no one is rebuilding it from the scratch. But we will actually try to make that a little bit better in our case.
Did you, I know we have learned a lot from the COVID lockdowns, and they obviously, business is not the same way it was before the COVID lockdowns. Things have changed. So those ongoing trends in the enterprise, should those, are there concerns in that area? Are there changes that you've had to adopt going forward?
Yeah. As you said before, COVID made the enterprise, but company organization like much more aware of their suppliers. And we can see it because a lot of companies that came to us are also Europe-based, and sometimes they just comment, wow, look, this software is a great software. I like this software, but it's produced by some state that right now is, well, I won't get too political, but so we have to fork it, for example. Can you fork it? And we are like, give us a sec. We try to build it, we check it, we check how many commits there is, a lot of things actually. And when we say, yeah, we can or we cannot. And it's happening like there is a little bit of deglobalization, I will call. I won't say that it's like, well, everyone is like, no, we have to be in the, I don't know, the same country or in the same state or whatever, or in the same union. But in some cases, it's happening. We are producing also the specialty news distributions, and the specialty news distributions are actually very like prone to being, but they have to be made somewhere. Because, for example, the environment that they operate in, I like not the internet ones, like there's the separate internet, for example, or separate nets and things like that. So sometimes they have to actually, they need the engineers not somewhere, but they need the engineers that will come and to some place where in this place there's like no internet, and they will make something and then just leave. So yeah.
Right.
So sometimes you actually need this kind of services.
As there's definitely having your supply chain closer to home is definitely a plus, and we're seeing that here too. Yeah, it's definitely a plus. There's been a lot of companies, as you probably know, have folded because of that, poor choices and where they're supplying stuff from. What do you feel like? What do you feel about the diversity of hardware architectures that are around today? That do you feel the need that you need to support them all? Are there some that are more key to you than others?
Oof. As an engineer, I will say the truth. I would love to support all of them. But on the back, I have the fact that there was the time when we were supporting one of the exotic, let's name it more exotic hardware. And then we announced it, and the financing, because we have like the sponsor for this project, and the sponsor was like, yeah, let's do it. And it was like 2 years later, he was like, no, you know what? I don't need it anymore. And was like, yeah, we have to support it for like forever. so we had once, but at the moment we are supporting of course, the Intel and AMD, so 6510 for these processors and the ARM processor. But I believe that we should, in short term, also start to support RISC processor, because I think that there are people like, for example, Lisa Su or Jim Keller. You know, there's like the legends of engineering. And if they are doing something, you should look very closely. And if someone like Jim Keller say, in the next 5 years, I believe that this architecture might become popular, then yeah. And right now we are working on providing more images for single board computers, because this is one of the things. When you think about, for example, the Intel or AMD x64 x86-64 bits processors, you just support it like normally. You just make the kernel, you make the bootloader, and it works. And I think on the single board computers, on a lot of ARM servers, like, oh no, you have to make the special kernel because, well, there is the different firmware that is not supported, or you have to make the different bootloader. And even you think about the normal Raspberry Pi, like Raspberry Pi is like the most standard way. You have the Raspberry Pi and you don't have like the nice config, you have like boot config, for example, when you put how it should be booted, for example, with what frequency of the processor and things I get. And it's not standard. It's not standard. And there's like the single computer. And when we're working to support some of the more popular ARM64-bit computers, and when it comes to architectures, well, I would love to, for example, support the PowerPC, but we made the we ask ourselves, okay, we will do that, but we have the one product is the pipeline, and if we start to support our Linux on PowerPC, what about our other products? And then the people can say, no, Alex, why would you do that to us? This is nonsense. No one will buy it. Because, for example, we are selling the Postgres, branded Postgres. By the way, if you buy our Postgres, you can have a contract that we don't have the vendor locked in. Some of our clients have in contract the service to migrate to the community back. This is one of the things that I'm actually quite proud of, by the way. And we're like, who would use the Postgres of PowerPC? Like, that's actually a good question, by the way. And if someone have a PowerPC computer, he have enough money to buy the system on it. Why would we make the free operating system for it? And things like that. So there is always like, sorry, because we are self-founded once more. We don't have a rich sponsor that say, yeah, make it, we have to be popular. No, we are like, we don't have to be popular. We have to be sustainable first. Then if we become popular, that's great. But this is not like our goal at all, to be honest. So yeah, so I believe that I would love to as an engineer, because for me and with our new build systems like the week, give us like 4 computers that will have, I don't know, the 8 cores literally, no more, and 1 terabyte of disk, and we will be able to rebuild it in the week. Like literally, this is, if you sort the build order of the system, the dependencies, and you, if you are able, and this is one of the things that's very hard to do actually, get the reverse dependency tree right, then you are able to produce system like this. But this requires, to be honest, quite a lot of knowledge, and sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of trial and errors, to be honest. And because yeah, that's how it was a guy. And as an engineer, I would love to support more. As someone who have to sometimes manage the teams and manage the budget and things like that, I'm like, do we really have to? So yeah.
It's interesting you said that. I just got an ARM system yesterday that has its own BIOS finally. I know they've had them in the servers for a while, but not on the single board computers.
Yeah.
They've always, I mean, how many different ways can you boot an ARM? 6? 10?
Yeah, probably something like it. You know, I was looking
Yep.
at the Armbian because this is one of the most popular like system that works in many places. And I'll be honest, when I was thinking about starting this, but we will make the enterprise like images for it. I look at it, and you know, each board actually have their own patches to bootloader.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's
What feature of oh, go ahead.
sorry.
That's
I
all
hit
right.
myself. Yeah.
So what are you most excited about? What feature of Euro Linux are you really excited about?
Wow, when we come to the people I'm excited about that we have all versions of the Linux, so like 6, 7, 8, 9, of course. And we are supporting the this actually is something that I'm quite proud of because we're supporting the version 6. Like there is the extended live support with limited, of course, it's limited to some packages, but still, if someone have a problem with it, they can write email call, or sometimes we make the patches just for them. Like we sometimes make patches just for the one client. And after we sold that to the one client in Germany, because in most cases we are saying the golden key, so we just don't care. You know, you're buying the subscription, use that on how many systems you like, and we don't care. Just make your own mirror in that case. So you won't eat all our traffic. But and I remember that you know, we sold it, and 2 days later we got the phone. But yeah, but great. But do you have a version 5? But it's not supported. I don't know. 8 years, probably something.
There's
like
probably some government houses here that are back that far.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I'm also very proud of is that in most cases there is no vendor locked in, and especially the clients. Sorry, I would say it bigger because we are targeting these bigger clients. They can get in contract that we can migrate back to whatever they want, and actually because we have like more than 80% of renewal rate, we have to do it once or twice in 10 years history, but we can do it. We are also very relaxed when it comes to the licensing. I remember once one of our clients actually migrated the servers, and they didn't have this kind of golden key, but let's say they have like, I don't know, 30 licenses. And he was, can I migrate it, or I have to change it and then migrate and things like that? Because he was from the Windows world, and you can migrate like once per day or something like that. I don't know, you know, this is the licensing stuff, but for engineers, like, you know, not very important. Let's name it that way. It's not very important until some company make the audit about the software, because as you know, there are some companies that are actually doing that, unfortunately. And I remember that he called it and was like, what 30? You have like 300 because you can use also on VMs. So just use it. And we are very relaxed because we never had the client who lied to us. You know, we never have a client that came and told us, I bought this wide license and I have like 5,000 tickets for you, 4,000 tickets for you. No, it didn't happen. So we are quite relaxed. We are tortoise. So we are going slower. We are maybe not that popular, but at least we are sustainable. I'm proud because we are building a lot of customized OSs. And I'm proud because we built the ecosystem. Like, you know, I know that, you know, the Postgres, this is like the satellite solution, this is like JBoss, and this is like virtualized Linux from many people, but it became a little bit of an ecosystem. And I know that right now in my country, about the third of population use it daily, some of our software, and I should be probably more excited about it, but I'm a little bit tired. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm proud of. But we managed to create the company from scratch.
I've got about 9 minutes left before they throw us out, but I want to make sure that we talk about about some of the points that we haven't covered in the questions. Is there anything that you in particular want to bring up so that people watching this video will know more about EuroLinux?
Yeah, I would like to say that, in my opinion, in many places we are more open than most of the even like organizations, like not profit and things like that. We are providing the open build routes. So, for example, if you want to build the 32-bit packages, you can just on Red Hat you can just use our build route, do work to the point that if you create the kernel and the boot chain, you can probably make the 32-bit version of Linux. Like normal. We are not using the CentOS or CentOS Git like some of the newer distributions, and this is quite important because Red Hat is putting their sources there. But what will happen when they decided that the CentOS Stream 8, for example, is the end of life happen, and they will push or not, so we are not doing that. We are not putting primitive builds. You can also check that. If some distribution actually are doing something like, if it's in the Git, CentOS Git, we are just copying and we will build it and ship it sometimes. This is not the good way because, well, but it's on the CentOS Stream Git. So think twice about it. And what? We are the only distro that provides releases, RPM releases 1-to-1 when it comes to the modules. We are the vendor of the system. So this is, as I said before, quite important that
Yes.
if you are the vendor of a system and if you are in the environment that require and a lot of important, like the most critical healthcare, telecommunications, banks, finance, whatever. If you are serious, you actually need to, you have a checklist, and on this checklist there is the simple question: is the software and of course the OS vendor supported? Yes, no. And because we are vendor, not the organization that create the system and tell that, look, there is the other organization that is actually third party to us officially, but they are making the support, then, well, you can use that that way. And the last thing is that if I say something wrong, but I'm deeply sorry. If something is not clear, I'm also deeply sorry. And yeah, I hope that you were able to understand me.
Yes. I can understand you. Your English is very good. I can tell you personally, from a personal note, I have switched off of Red Hat and I am using EuroLinux. So I have a number of systems that are driven by Red Hat formerly, but I'm a little concerned what IBM may do down the road with them. I mean, it's only a natural thing that if you buy a car, you're going to want to drive it. And that's the old saying. And so at some point, they're going to want to control what's going on in Red Hat. And that bothers me a lot.
Yeah,
they haven't had the best track record in successful business as of late.
Yeah, IBM actually, when you think about the IBM, if you look at the results of IBM year to year, the only actually the division of IBM that were able to get like the real growth, because the 4% growth adjusted like the zero. The only was the Red Hat, and the Red Hat is the power horse of IBM, and a lot of people are afraid that they will squeeze that ram. So
right. So Alex, I really appreciate you taking time to talking to us today and letting my viewers know more about what's going on with EuroLinux. And I hope that will all go download it, try it out, and sign up for a subscription and help support what you guys are doing. It's awesome. I can tell you that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye-bye. So I wanted to wrap things up today. I really enjoyed the interview with Alex today from EuroLinux. I hope you did as well. And if you did, please share this with your friends and get the word out. I have been using it since the review went up. I'll probably continue to use it. and we'll try to support them as best I can as well. And I urge you to try them out and see how it works for you as well. Hope to see you again in the next video, and see you later, and bye for now.